he's going to have to, overcome when you're stepping up a weight class?
I don't think that the doubt or any of that stuff is present right now because normally, listen, most fighters have a little bit of doubt. There's like, I hope, but the moments that he'll think mostly about this stuff is the private moments when he's by himself tonight, when the coaches are all gone, the quarantine has started, and you're in there by yourself thinking about how big a moment is right at your fingertips. So he is confident. This is a guy that doesn't doubt himself much, but this is a big ask, man, and it's in those quiet moments though. Tonight when it's 11:30, 12, you can't sleep, knowing that you have a full day. Middle of the day tomorrow, after you get up, before you head to the arena. Those are the moments where you start to ask those questions about, can you get this big thing done?
How about physically, once the fight starts, right? I mean, how different do human beings feel in different weight classes? I mean, do you notice it right away? Like, oh my God, this dude's way stronger than anybody I've been fighting.
Well, it's to the person, right? Because for me, Stipe wasn't all that big. I might have weighed more than him the first time we fought. So you feel the difference in the power, right? You could tell they punch a little harder when you're used to something. But it just takes time to get started. Once you get started, get used to the power, used to the speed and the pace at which the fight's going to take place, it's just another fight. These guys have fought and competed their whole lives. So nothing is really going to surprise them. And you got to remember, Izzy's fought at heavyweight. Izzy's fought heavier guys. So this won't be that difficult and different for him.
Yeah. You touched on the heavyweight, right? Him and his team are saying they win here, they might even look to go up to heavyweight. Is that pure insanity, or can he accomplish that in the UFC's heavyweight division too?
Not necessarily, because he's a tall guy. If he was short, maybe it would seem like, this dude can't fight 85 and in heavyweight. But he's done it before, right? And I think ultimately you have to make sure that it's the right kind of matchup if you're playing with heavyweights. You don't want to be fighting heavyweight with Francis, as a guy that's coming from 185. But, for the right matchup, yeah, why not? I believe that this kid can do whatever he wants. I think he's just that good.
Yeah. And if he does that, I mean, if he were to win on Saturday and go up to heavyweight, whether it be Stipe, whether it be Francis, whether it be John, let's say he takes a heavyweight title too, in 2 fights, could we be talking about this guy as the greatest of all time?
Well, I mean, I don't think he would go up to heavyweight in 2 fights. That's crazy, right? You can't go from 185 to heavyweight in a matter of fights. I think it would take some time. But I think this speaks, honestly, this line of questioning speaks to who Israel Adesanya is. That's even a conversation, that he could attempt to do something that outlandish. There was a time where nobody thought being a 2-division champion was possible. Now we're talking about a guy that may pursue 3 titles, and talking from a 20-pound jump to a 60-pound jump. That just speaks to the level of athlete that Adesanya is.
I know you love storylines and promotion. Out of these 3 title fights, they're all very unique. Is there one of them that speaks to you more than the other, that, just like the story coming into it?
I love the 2-division champion story. I think that's always special. But I do love the bantamweight title fight. Those guys don't like each other. They've been going at it over social media. They told me Piotr just told Aljamain he's going to fucker him up. So that's like a cool thing, I like it. I like the bad blood. I like that these guys don't like each other. I like that Piotr's trying to speak English. And although broken, it makes its point. Aljo heard it. He knew what he meant. So I love this fight, man. I love the style fight. I love the differences in where they're from. I love the different approaches in fighting. I just think there's so many layers to this bantamweight title fight that you cannot sleep on it.
Last thing for me, and I think I might know what you're answering here, but the 3 title fights everybody's talking about, but there's 12 other fights as well. Is there a name on there that stands out to you that we need to be paying attention to? I think I might know who it is.
There are a lot of guys, but Makhachev and Dober. I know you guys call me a homer, for my guys, but I've seen this kid work for so long, and he's so good, man. I think that consistency, if Islam can get out in front of people consistently, then you will start to appreciate what he is. Remember, same thing with Khabib. Khabib was hurt for years and years and years, and then Ramadan and all the other reasons why the guys go away. But the moment he was consistent, he became the greatest fighter in the world. And I think that Islam has a lot of those same traits.
Daniel, do you look at this fight in the main event and think, for Israel, it's almost perfect. He's coming off the Paulo Costa fight, right? Because that's a big, heavy hitter who is also massive at middleweight. And if you look at stylistically, him and Jan kind of seem similar. Is that the perfect fight to come into?
You know, you look at Paulo Costa and you think that because of the size, it could be comparable. Jan Blachowicz is a whole different animal. I mean, I watched Jan Blachowicz knock out Dominic Reyes going backwards with his offhand. That speaks to the power of who Jan Blachowicz is. This guy landed that right hand against Corey Anderson. Corey went to sleep. He landed that uppercut on Luke. Dude went to sleep, but that was his power hand. Then he goes and knocks out Dominic Reyes with a left hand, the offhand. So there is no equal to him in that sense in terms of who Izzy has seen in the UFC. He hasn't felt the power that he's going to feel on Saturday night if Jan's able to land. So while you may say there's similarities, this is a completely different fight because Jan just fights a different way. He's going to plow forward in a smaller octagon, trying to get at a smaller guy in Israel Adesanya.
Yeah, you kind of speak me to the punch there. If you look at his cage, do you think it favors Blachowicz?
I do believe it favors Jan. It's easy. It will be easier for him to set traps. You know, there won't be as much space for Izzy to operate in. For Adesanya, even though he has proven to be extremely tough, right? We saw him go through the 5th round with Gastelum when he was beat up a little bit. We saw him deal with Robert Whittaker in the fashion that he did, where he stood in there. He stood in there with Paulo Costa, but there was space if he needed it. In this octagon tomorrow night, he will be forced to stand with Jan in much closer vicinity than he probably needs to or wants to.
And last thing for me, if you get to decide you can book John Jones versus Israel, do you do it at light heavyweight or do you do it at heavyweight to make Israel really chase that glorious moment?
Man, let me tell you something. These guys seem to be on a collision course, right? I know what that feels like. You know, I know what Izzy feels. It's frustrating. You want to get your hands on the guy. But ultimately, if you're Team Adesanya, you don't give him all the advantages, right? You make him, if he's gotten so big, you make him come back down, right? We didn't fight at heavyweight when I was undefeated. He said it, and I did it. Come down to me. If you're going to talk so much, come down to me. So I went down to the weight class that he was performing in. Izzy needs to make sure that he doesn't give any of the advantages. And he won't. He's smart. His team's smart. He's going to fight him on his terms. And I think that's why you see a lot of the reactions from Jones, because he has a guy now that isn't willing to dance the dance that he wants to dance. Izzy's going to do what he wants. And that's the approach he needs to take.
Just to follow up on that, do you think it says something? Do you think Israel could have learned from your rivalry with John?
Well, I don't think he learned from me because, like, there's nothing to learn from me. I did it all wrong, right? I went to the playing field that he won and I lost the fights. So, yeah, don't learn from me.
But I mean, in terms of getting a reaction from John, it's like anytime Israel does something, he gets a reaction from John. And John does the same thing with you. Like, anytime you say something, you see John react to it.
Yeah.
I think Israel looks at that and goes, well, I can get under his skin really easy. I just need to poke the right places and get him to react.
Well, I think you're looking at a new different type of athlete, right? Adesanya is one of the internet age kids, right? They go and find things and they say it. You know, it doesn't need to be proven as fact, but they will say it. And I think that annoys Jones. And honestly, man, like, I try not to say and talk about Jones much because it sounds like I don't like the guy, which I don't. But I'm not fighting anymore, right? So, but the reality is, like, there are the things that he has run into in terms of problems are very public. So it's easy pickings when it comes to Jones, and Adesanya is the type of guy that will use each and every one of them.
Hey, Daniel, over here on your left. It's good to see you.
I love your mask. Are you a wrestler?
I am a wrestler.
That's what I'm talking about. Lucha Libre.
You know, it's from San Jose. It's from Pro Wrestling Revolution, Kane's school.
Oh, yeah. I trained there one time. I did a top. I wasn't very good.
I don't believe that. Do you take any back bumps?
I just jumped off the top rope, and it was awesome.
Onto who?
Just some guy that was in there.
Oh, that poor guy. Did he live his hell about it?
He did.
All right.
But, I mean, you know, there's an art to taking a bump, and he was a master of it.
I wanted to ask you, DC, the UFC Apex, you know, it's been so crucial for the UFC here in the States during the pandemic. From a broadcasting perspective, what do you like about working here?
You know, when the Apex first started holding fights, it was hard to feel the excitement, right? Because it's such a confined space that you didn't feel big fight week. They all kind of felt the same. But now it's changed because it's become a major factor in the fights. Now the Apex feels as if we're fighting at T-Mobile or at MGM. I think it's fantastic. I love the environment. I love the fights. I love the octagon size. There are so many different things and factors that play into why this has become one of the places that you recognize and pinpoint as a fight place, and I love it. I love everything about it.
And then from a fighting perspective, because obviously you fought here in August, what was that like compared to a full arena?
It's just different. It's just different. Like I said, the octagon's a lot smaller. And there are places where you would generally escape that you just don't. And I think that's why it plays to the heavier punchers. You take the guys that want to operate in space and you make them fight you in closed capacity. And, not everybody's okay with that. So, but it is a difference. It's not even necessarily about the fans because oddly, it gets kind of loud in there. Even though there's not as many people, it's still loud when you're in the octagon. You can hear everything. But you can hear the people yelling. I can't remember. I think it was Moreno versus Figueiredo. And I looked around like, how many people are in here? Because it sounded like the place was full because people were just so excited about the action that was going on in front of them.
And just last thing, can you clear something up for us? You're not AEW's secret signing that's coming on Sunday, right?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, man. My back's so jacked up, man. I can't even wrestle if I wanted to. I can't wrestle to train for a fight. How am I going to do professional wrestling?
Any ideas on who it would be?
No idea. I saw Shaq the other day wrestling, so that was pretty cool.
What'd you think of that?
He did a good job. I think Shaq can do whatever he wants, man. The guy is just unbelievable in every single thing that he does. He's a great guy, great man, good friend of mine, and he just does fantastic work in whatever he chooses to do.
Would you have taken that table bump that he took?
Shaq's like 400 pounds, though, so like you don't have to even have a breakaway table. Shaq falls on the table, it breaks.
What happens if Daniel Cormier falls through a table?
I mean, had my weight today, it probably breaks.
Thanks, DC.
No worries.
DC over here.
Yeah.
I remember you saying you had actually trained with Adesanya long before he was the star he was today.
No, I asked him to train. I sent him a message. Rashad Evans put Adesanya and I in contact when I was going to fight Jones. This was before Izzy was the man. They said, there's this, Rashad's just like a very smart guy. He goes, there's a kid named the Last Stylebender, not in the UFC yet. You should reach out to him and see if he'll give you some sparring. And then initially I reached out to the guy. Me and Izzy started going messaging back and forth. And although not even in the UFC yet, and maybe his first fight, he didn't come though because he anticipated at some point fighting Luke Rockhold, right? So he had the forethought to not put himself in a situation where Luke would have eyes on him every single day. So I needed him, but he just had forethought. He was like, you know what? Down the line, I'm going to be in the championship picture, and I may see Luke Rockhold, so it's not best for me to go there, which is crazy because you're the champion asking a kid to come and train, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to be the champion one day, so I don't want to give away my secrets. It was great.
You obviously meet a lot of people doing the commentary, probably coming through AKA. When you first meet a guy like Israel Adesanya, do you sense that, what? This kid is special compared to the many you meet?
Some people have it. Some people have it. Like, it didn't take a genius to see Cain Velasquez was the man, or that Habib is the man. Like, Israel Adesanya has that same type of vibe. It's like an aura about these guys. Like, he walked in the day on the set of the weigh-in show, and I go, you're breaking through, right? You're not just an MMA guy anymore. You're breaking through. I can feel it. I can see it. And he's one of those guys that just kind of has it.
Thank you.
No worries.
DC, real quick, thoughts on Dominic Cruz's return fight against Casey Kennedy?
So excited to see Cruz in a fight situation. Listen, he processes information much quicker than most people. And he gave us a great answer in terms of the matchup with him and Casey. Great fight. Big spot for Casey Kennedy. A chance to beat a former champion. But the last time we saw Dominic Cruz in this situation, on the prelims, coming back from a layoff, was when he destroyed Takeya Mizugaki. So Casey got to be ready from the moment they start fighting, and expect to see vintage Dominic Cruz. I mean, the guy is as good and as smart as anybody in the game. He employs it in a way that not many people can. Okay.
One more question. Yeah. Hi there, DC. My name is Igor. I'm from Russia. Khabib is here. He will meet with Dana after tournament. I think Dana said that door's still open. What do you think about all this situation?
You know, if, like I said last time, if Khabib agrees to see you and discuss it, you continue to do it. You continue to do it until eventually there's just no other option, because he's one of the biggest stars in the whole world. So you want him competing if you can get him to do it. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to fight, but I do know that if he doesn't fight, Islam Makhachev is a guy that does have potential to be the UFC champion, and whom, you know, I have to try to stay as middle of the road as I can when I call these fights, because I have the utmost respect for Drew Dober. And so when my teammates fight, it's difficult. I will call this fight as I see it. But obviously, you know, teammates, friends, I wish him the best. Okay? Thank you.